sharp, good. All right. Good?
Yes, absolutely.
Ready to go beyond?
Ready.
All right, I'm Justin Franson here with David Weck at the Weck Method in San Diego, California. David is a longtime friend. He brought in his first original Bosu ball into Scripps Clinic La Jolla when I was working with Dean Brittingham. And he's like, hey guys, I have this amazing invention. Check it out. And Dean's like, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. We can do this, this, and this with it. And Steve Cotter jumps on it, does 42 one-legged pistols. If you've heard Steve's interview yet, he'll share about that story. And so David is an amazing inventor. He's invented multiple products in the last couple of decades and more. And not only are they still here, they're just thriving. And he has a whole new version of the Bosu ball. And he has his RMT clubs, which are just unbelievable training as well. And so we are so happy to have you on. It's so fun for us to go back to our roots. It was when I started training with Dean Brittingham, and you were coming in all the time as well. And so tell us your story. How did you invent the Bosu ball?
Okay, well, it really begins with a lifelong quest to study athletic movement because of my own deficiencies as an athlete. I couldn't be a pro athlete, for example. I was a Division III college football player, so I was always a student of movement. So that's how it starts. And then I was in New York City, and I had discovered rollerblading. And rollerblading was just bliss because you can literally fly around the city so fast, and the entire thing's paved. So I literally existed in rollerblades for 5 years without walking. So I was in skates if I was outside. And the result of that is my feet became extremely weak. And when your feet aren't strong, you can't transfer the force to and from the ground efficiently, and up the kinetic chain, there has to be compensation. And so because of that factor, I injured my lower back. And because my feet were so weak and I didn't understand that that was the fundamental issue, I spent a year in chronic pain. Every day my back hurt, and it was a miserable experience. And that's when I had gone through physical therapy, nothing was helping, blah, blah, blah. I discovered the exercise ball, and eventually I started standing on top of that ball as I was progressing the challenges. And that's when I started to have that aha that, oh, my feet are getting strong, my back is feeling better. And there was a direct connection to that equation.
Awesome.
And the problem was the risk to standing on that ball was so great that you risk breaking your neck in the process of rehabilitating. So after a number of falls off the ball, and sort of contemplating my dilemma, which how do I continue this form of training to fortify my feet, which is making my entire body better, I thought, what if I cut it in half? And it was just this aha moment, and split second later, I'm thinking, wow, this is a huge opportunity. Wow, I can picture millions of them all over the world. And so literally my life took an abrupt turn, so that the next day I went to the hardware store, I built a prototype, it worked the following day, and I was a personal trainer at the time, so I basically trained every client I had, all the way from a 9-year-old to a 86-year-old, and found efficacy with everyone. So it was just a logical path from there that this was going to be my next project. And so I knew that the best way to do it, especially on a low budget, is validate at the top. So my first sale was to the US ski team. It fit into their program extremely well. And then it was the New York Yankees, the LA Lakers, the New Jersey Devils, and the Los Angeles Rams. And they were all the championship teams of the respective leagues and sports. And that led to just doors opening up. And I met Dean Brittingham because I had sold it to the New York Knicks, where his son was a coach.
Right.
And he said, you have to meet my father Dean with this product. So that was how I met Dean, it's how I met you, it's how I met Steve Cotter. And so that was basically the initial launch, the impetus for it, and then the very beginning with handmade prototypes. And then it was all the other aspects of intellectual property, manufacture, distribution, all the marketing, all those factors that you have to really make everything come together to make it succeed.
So go back to duct tape, I mean,
Yeah.
and the foundation. So, I mean, we had a dozen of his prototypes in our facility for so long, and you know, some of the air would stay in some of them would come out a little bit, and then you just started finding the right distribution manufacturers to make it, and all of a sudden it just all came together. And I was one of the early distributors, I don't know if you recall, but I actually sold quite a few of them at one point, and realized I was more of a service business than and product sales at that time. But I was such a fan of them, we were selling them like crazy. We'd buy a couple dozen, they'd sell instantly. And so tell us about how the duct tape and how you actually made the first ones, because I remember those ones vividly.
Yeah, so basically I took a stability ball and I cut it in half I left sort of an 1.5 inch lip from, so it was 53% of it, and I had a round piece of wood that I discovered I had to put several layers of shellac on it because wood is porous and it will leak air unless you coat it. And then I would wrap the ball, and then I would staple with 200 staples very close to one another so that no one staple put sort of a tearing force on it. And then I would seal that stapled section with glue so that it was sealed and airtight. And the portion of the ball that I had cut had the valve on top of it, and so that's how you inflated it. And then I would protect the edge with a piece of foam and then duct tape it all together. So that was the early prototypes, and I built hundreds of them. Had a little wood shop where I could do them. I hired one of my brother's friends, my younger brother's friends, to help construct them. And so that was, and I knew that was a very short-term solution because you can't scale that, but it was necessary to get the concept off the ground. So it was proof of concept and marketing, because now, I mean, the New York Yankees had 2 units that were duct tape. The Los Angeles Lakers had 3 units that were duct tape, right? But it secured a testimonial, and they were using the product. So that was what led to the story behind the marketing of it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's the first time I've heard the whole story. So we're getting some live footage here, going beyond with David Weck and his Bosu ball invention. Now, one of the things that I was always impressed with David about is that he was such a student of the body, and not only would he invent something, but once you invented it, you actually mastered it. And so David was a master at balance, and so he could stand on this ball any way, any shape or form with amounts of weight, and upside down, sideways, I mean every plane that you could possibly go in. And so David would train for hours a day on his products just to really be an ambassador of it. So tell us a little more about how you went into really mastering your product so you could help sell it and share the story behind it.
Okay, so basically it starts with the unique properties of this device, the Bosu balance trainer. And really what makes it truly unique is that it provides a stable, unstable surface that's constantly trying to direct you off of center, but the device itself is stable when the platform side is down. And the platform side down with the dome up is what makes it special. You can use it the other way, but the other way, because it's unstable entirely, your nervous system can't completely give over to it. When the dome is up, you can ballistically hit it with full power, and the nervous system is not putting on some protective governor that's bringing tension up in the body. So what you learn to do is you learn to drop all tension and completely load and explode so that it forms the perfect adjunct to the weightlifting and the plyometrics and all that stuff, because what it's doing is it's down regulating the protective reflexes and giving you faster transmission of force, and it fortifies the lower extremities. The feet become extremely strong. The shanks, the calves and the shins, they just become so strong, and everything becomes coordinated. We have a reflexive grabbing with the fingers and the toes. We come from tree climbers where this is functional. But walking on flat ground, running, jumping on flat ground, flexing the toes is the kiss of death. It creates slack in the system, and now the little intrinsic muscles are forced to work to secure balance, and they get injured. It's plantar fasciitis, it's shin splints, it's all sorts of issues. Whereas the Bosu ball strengthens the flexors, but it teaches you to extend through the toes. And so what I would do is I would apply sort of maximum force to it and minimum force to it. So I brought the Feldenkrais training theory to this, and it lent itself perfectly, because you can get on here and take huge risk because there is no risk. I'm not going to fall from training, so I can stand there and close my eyes, tilt my head, do it on one leg, and really get the subtlety and the nuance of what it is to be balanced, which is basically being able to feel and sense restriction or tension and release that tension and solve the problem lower in the body as opposed to bringing it up. If the instant I'm up as an athlete, I'm slow. I can't react, I can't move, I can't load explode to the ground. So that's really the unique aspect of it. I guess the athlete in me, both consciously and subconsciously, recognized this tremendous value to this training in terms of my ability to functionally move outside of the training. Because I don't train for the sake of training. Everything that I do is very limited amount of time and energy that you have in your life. I want carryover. I don't care about lifting a weight. I don't care about the modality. If it gives me the carryover I want, then I'm investing in it. But if I don't get the carryover, then I could care less about the activity. Because I care about life, I care about running around, I care about, if I play pickup basketball, if I want to race with my kids, I want to be right now ready, and I want to be the best that I can be as I get older. So that was really what attracted me to the training. And then eyes closed was a big, big education, because when you take away that visual perception, the body is constantly scanning for horizontal and vertical lines to create the grid for you. And if you close your eyes, you don't have that grid, and now it's all vestibular and proprioception, and this is taking proprioception and really challenging it so that now you become extremely tuned with your balance. So that's basically, that answer the question?
Definitely. I mean, I would go to your house, I remember, and you would be out there for hours training.
Yeah, it was a big investment in time, because I wanted to get out ahead of it so that I could articulate the full potential of it. And the way that I do it, I have to speak from experience. I can't sort of think my way through it. I have to experience it, and that way I can share the nuance, and I can share the truth. So that's why, and it was enjoyable. You're in the moment when you're training balance.
Definitely.
Like, you cannot be outside of that moment. You're very mindful of the moment, which in athletics, you can't be anything more valuable than that.
That's for sure. And for me, the value with the Bosu ball, it's still today one of my favorite tools, in the whole entire gym, and it's my go-to one every day before I go hard on a basketball court or go surf or what have you. I mean, and all my clients, everyone steps on that, and we go through the same protocol. And it's just, there's footwork coordination moves. You can flip it upside down. There's balance both legs, one leg, full squats. You can just do some bounding from side to side. There's unbelievable and unlimited amount of actually exercises and coordination drills and balance drills and strength drills that you can do on the Bosu, proprioception drills as well. And so definitely by far one of my favorite products all time, and it's not going anywhere. It's going to be here for generations to come. And so again, that's why when you're talking to an inventor and you hear his mind and how he thinks out of the box and creates and then actually works the workmanship behind making it, it's remarkable. So I love hearing that. Now that we're on the Bosu ball and the whole system behind it, tell us about the new version. He has a whole entire new Bosu ball. How do you come up with something that looks so similar, but yet it's so different and so much more profound in so many ways?
Okay, so what we have here is the new version. Most people are familiar with the blue half ball that you see, quote unquote, everywhere. This one is distinctly different. It's the exact same shape and dimension, but it's distinctly different with its density and its design. And so those two factors give it a very unique and distinct experience and training stimulus for a very honed training response that I want, which is loading the ground and really capturing the power of the haunch and hip flexors. So the glutes, the upper hamstrings, the hip flexors,
Right.
all those which power translated to and through the body, to and from the ground, through the balls of the feet. Because that's where an athlete has to exist. And conventional wisdom is that if I want the glutes, I've got to drive through the heels. Now that doesn't carry over as well to the athletics because I need to be through the balls of the feet athletically.
Right.
And I can't have slack, so it's not a calf raise where there's slack. If muscles are like this, you pull one end of the system, the muscle will elongate, then the system will go. But if I learn to make myself long and strong, I pull this and boom, I go, because it's a fascial connection, it's connective tissue. So with this unit here, sorry for that loud bang, with this unit here we have what's called the power zone and a power line. And what this does is it creates this precise area of placement for the feet that takes this very firm dome. It's incredibly firm compared to the original one. So what we say is this one's more about resistance, the other one's more about instability.
Right.
So the other one is very proprioceptively fine-tuned, all the intrinsics are getting a lot of work. This is creating this resistance with a very specific shape based on the design and the positioning, so I can be very precise in where I locate my feet or my hands for different exercises. And that shape of resistance forces me to move forward within the foot, to put the proper toe tension in, so you're weaning and down-regulating the grabbing reflex, and you literally cannot load through the heels because the resistance and the shape forces you to leverage the power of the heel forward. And it takes all the slack out of the system. And it basically teaches you the fundamentals of ground loading, where you learn to initiate contact with the fourth and fifth metatarsals, which are intimately linked to the heel, the calcaneus. So if we look at this diagram right here, those green circles are where we find our balance. So we do ground-based squats with the feet turned out, and that teaches us to use the